Welcome to the Dark Archive. I'm Gavin.
I'm Chris.
I'm Shyla.
And this is our debut episode. The Dark Archive. We're just jumping into it. I didn't know how to start this. You never know how to start new things.
No.
You know what's the best way to start new things?
Do tell.
Together. With other people.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that so great? In theory, people who are listening or watching this now on YouTube, if you're listening, you can watch the video on YouTube. It's going to be probably worse. I would recommend just listening.
Just going off of Chris's camera quality.
Look.
It's just the aesthetic that we're going for, I guess. If you want to see how bad Chris looks, watch the video.
Well, Chris looks great, but his camera
Chris looks
doesn't
great.
help.
I'm so sorry, Chris. That was not that wasn't a drag.
I'll just go fuck myself. Fine.
His camera quality isn't even as bad as what it was half an hour ago.
No, this is the new and improved
camera. Oh goodness. Well, you can check out that clip on Instagram if we decide to post it. Oh, and now it just got brighter. Did a light just turn on?
No.
Nothing changed. So now people have to watch the video. Otherwise, all the audio listeners, it's just not going to make any sense. That's good. Check out the YouTube. Link in the description. Anyways, the Dark Archive, brand new podcast. I'm just going to read the description because I already put it into such eloquent words that I'm just going to read it because I feel like that's the best way to describe it already. From stories of unruly dictators and undercover agents to eerie urban legends and the occasional super niche historical episode, this podcast explores how dark, creepy, and strange this world really is. Join our hosts every week as they crack into the Dark Archive. I should use that for the trailer. This should be the trailer is what it should be.
Great. The little this shows us how strange it's giving I'm so quirky and different. Like the world is so creepy and quirky and different sometimes. Listen to our podcast.
It's not like other worlds.
It's not like other archives. It's not like other archives. It's a dark archive.
You're right. That would be strange if it was about a world. So we won't talk about that.
That's true. Yeah. Although if you're hearing from that, then welcome. Hopefully we draw some of that audience. Got some decent downloads. Mm-hmm. But the Dark Archive is a little bit different. It's a little bit darker, potentially more historical. But we're going to talk about a lot of different things. I keep saying before I start a sentence.
Just don't do that.
You're right. That's the best way to go about it. So maybe throughout this season, I will say and less. That's my goal. And we're manifesting that. And that's what's
nice to have goals.
It's nice. It is nice. It is nice to have goals. So this first season of the Dark Archive, a little bit more miscellaneous episodes. We're going to kind of be dipping into different things, some supernatural, some historical, some creepy, some crime-esque stuff. So a lot of good things coming. I'm just trying not to say now I'm thinking about it. I'm just gonna jump right in. Now I'm so in my head about it, but it's okay because it's candid, it's earnest. I just said earnest.
It's off the cuff.
Exactly. It's not like we're just doing video just so I don't have to edit out all of the uhs and ums. That's not an excuse.
That'd be lazy.
That would be lazy. And gosh, we can't have that. This is just only so that I stop saying and like. But as we go, maybe we'll find some fun buzzwords that you guys say that you hate about yourselves. Maybe we'll all grow.
I just can focus on all of our flaws.
Yeah. I think once we're talking every week, the flaws are really going to come out. You know who had some flaws as a ruler?
Do tell.
Someone tell us. Who?
King Tut.
Never would have guessed.
I should have known.
So this first episode, it's a little bit more supernaturally. Do you guys know about King Tut? I mean, I feel like everybody does.
I'm familiar with his work, yeah.
His work as king?
Yes.
I wouldn't say I'm a stan or anything, but
Is anyone really?
Dabble.
It's not like he's been in the news recently, but I feel like everybody does know who he is at some point. I don't know when or where. So it really helps out this story. I went to some museum that had an Egyptian thing, and I'm pretty sure.
I love how vague this is.
Really, you should love how specific this is. Really,
yeah.
I thought that it was like part of his tomb or something was there, but I'm pretty sure that's only in Egypt or the Egyptian Museum in Italy or something. So maybe I didn't see it, and it's just when you have memories and your memories lie to you.
I mean, I wouldn't assume it's in Egypt because, like colonization and like white people stealing stuff is a thing.
Well, that's true.
Are
You
you
never know.
perhaps thinking of Night at the Museum? Is that where this is coming?
Maybe my memory is also just the storyline.
Yeah,
of Night at the
was
Museum.
Ben Stiller going to be part of this story? Is that what's
Yeah, and
happening?
I also saw Robin Williams. Actually,
look just like Teddy Roosevelt.
I went to the Natural History Museum a little while ago.
Doesn't look anything like that.
Is there a Teddy Roosevelt statue or no?
I don't think so.
I was like looking around.
I've been there a couple times, and I don't think it's the same. I think they might have been on a set.
Really?
I know.
You don't think the dinosaur was real? A live dinosaur running around bones?
It might have been.
Who knows? At some point, though, we can maybe I'll jump into the scripts and we can just get started learning about King Tut. For those who don't know who he is, it's pronounced Tutankhamun, right?
Yeah.
Because I know you were making fun of me before we record, but I feel like that's not it's. Some people probably didn't realize that Tut is short for a long thing.
You're probably right, and I'm just a pretentious asshole, and I apologize.
I accept your apology, and I apologize for calling you out already on so many things from before we started. But this is going to go really great. So I'll just jump into it. Tutankhamun, commonly referred to as King Tut, was an Egyptian pharaoh who was the last of his royal family to rule during the end of the 18th dynasty, which was 1332 through 1323 BC. So a long time ago.
Back in the day.
During the New Kingdom of Egyptian history. His father is believed to be the pharaoh Akhenaten.
Where's your phonetical spelling on that one?
I guess I wasn't as prepared as I could have been. If you're busting my balls about that, just wait. Egypt, it's almost like they didn't speak English in ancient Egypt. And they had all these names.
They spoke in little pictures. That's how they
spoke. Basically in emojis. Well, so I guess we're not too different from the ancient Egyptians. Really?
Same, but different.
Just like us.
What's the saying that if you don't forget your past, or if you don't remember your past, you're doomed to repeat it?
Sure, yeah.
Something like that. We forgot about hieroglyphics, and now we speak in hieroglyphics again. His mother is his father's sister, so we'll just get that out of the way. Identified through DNA testing as an unknown mummy referred to as the younger lady who was found in another tomb among the royal mummies.
So it wasn't. I'm sorry, I'm a little slow. It's a mommy ant, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
All
so.
Right. Just making sure we're on the same page.
I'm not used to seeing those words linked in that way, so it took me a second to process
the fact that that's within like 5 words of each other. His mother is his father's sister. I can't imagine that he wasn't. It wasn't a little inbred.
Rocking a little Habsburg nose or something.
Yeah. So Tutankhamun took the throne at 8 or 9 years of age, which is the best time to be put in charge of Egypt. But he was under the unprecedented visorship of his eventual successor, to whom he may have been related, because I assume that all the royals were probably related. Tutankhamun restored the ancient Egyptian religion. You know how religious 8-year-olds are. After its dissolution by his father, enriched and endowed the priestly order of 2 important cults, and began restoring old monuments damaged during the previous Amarna period. He reburied his father's remains in the Valley of the Kings and relocated the capital from Akhenaten back to Thebes.
Can I say?
Yes.
He sets goals and he follows through.
He does.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the productivity.
A super proactive 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm looking up. I don't know why I never looked it up, but how old he was when he died.
He was young when he died. He was like 19, 20, something like that. Very young. I believe it was in a chariot accident.
Yeah, he died around the age of 18 or 19. Yeah. That actually, I think he is right. It's almost like you know something.
Dang.
So yeah, so the fact that if you started ruling around 8 or 9, so I guess he ruled for about 10 years or so.
Yeah, got a lot of shit done.
But imagine by the time you're 18 or 19 and you've only ruled for about 10 years. Or you've already been ruling for 10 years at the age of 18, 19. Could not imagine that. Don't put me in charge of a nation as an 18-year-old.
What were you guys accomplishing at 8 or 9?
At 8 or 9?
9?
What grade is that?
I was in third
Like
grade.
second, third grade?
I think,
That's what.
Alright.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't even know what I was doing in
What was
second
I
or
up
third grade.
to?
Yeah.
Not ruling Egypt. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I think in third grade, my class did a play, meaning just 5 minutes in front of parents, and it was called "How the Chipmunk Got Its Stripes." And spoiler alert, it is not accurate in the slightest. And I played the chipmunk because I was probably the tallest kid in the class, so made sense. And I had a brown shirt with 3 white stripes on the back and a piece of felt over it. And the story was basically that a bear or like some animal slashes the back of a chipmunk, and that's how the chipmunk got its stripes.
So violent.
Wait.
It was something like and then there was another kid who then tore the felt off my back, and that's what I was doing at that age. While King Tut's ruling Egypt, I was
Oh my God.
learning how a chipmunk got its stripes.
You know what I was doing when I was 8? I was getting really into U.S. politics, and I'm not even kidding. It was I would watch MSNBC every night as an 8-year-old because I was fascinated by the '08 election. So that's what I was up to.
I don't even know who was in the '08 election.
It was Obama and McCain.
That was
Oh, yeah, that was the first one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Wow.
imagine that tracks for you.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. Were you doing anything as highbrow as that, Shyla?
Only thing I can think of is that was my peak gymnastics session. So maybe I nailed a cartwheel around that time or something. I don't know. That's about it.
Yeah. I think that was also
Nothing that's crazy.
it was right before my incredibly short-lived few years where I played lacrosse. I think I played it as a 4th or 5th grader, and then immediately
lacrosse.
Is it that? Wow, it's that that hard to believe? Okay.
Oh God. No, you live in Connecticut, so it kind of checks
My
out.
dad played lacrosse. In 4th or 5th grade, I think he basically forced me to play lacrosse. And then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore for obvious reasons, if you know me. And then my mom was like, well, then what the fuck are you going to do? And then she was like, why don't we sign you up for theater? And then the summer show was High School Musical. So then I started in High School Musical in 5th grade.
A monster was born.
Wow.
And then,
High School Musical and How the Chipmunk Got Its Stripes.
Menace.
big,
Wow.
huge. Actually, yeah, I should have known that I was going to be big in theater if I was the fucking chipmunk in my elementary school, How the Chipmunk Got Its Stripes. I was probably the only one who gave a fuck.
Now, who were you in High School Musical?
Who do you think I was? I was not Troy Bolton, but who do you think? I was a named character.
Were you
You,
Ryan?
Ryan.
No, I was not Ryan. As I'm sure we're gonna learn so much about ourselves throughout this whole podcast. But what it will become a trend for then the years to come after 5th grade, from 5th grade to 12th grade that I did theater. I was usually the tallest, so I'd usually play an adult. So I started my theater career as Coach Bolton.
What are those two doing in the tree?
Yeah, pretty much. And I had a whistle. And that was probably my peak of my theater career, actually. Although the following summer, then I did High School Musical 2, and I was not recast as Coach Bolton. I was like Jack Scott, who's just some friend who's just in the group of them. I don't even remember. This is getting very off track.
Yeah.
It's going to take us multiple hours to get through this script. So
On the second paragraph.
yeah. So we finished the second paragraph. So already as a child, he was doing a lot. He moved his father remains to the Valley of the King. Valley of the Kings was where most of the royal family and then some were when all of the tombs eventually got discovered later, most of them just had like serial numbers as the names, which is why they usually have nicknames like how they think his mother's is usually referred to as the younger lady. I forget what the serial number was for hers, but so it's all very, there's like a fuck ton of tombs there. And so I don't remember if they were all found in 1922 or if some were found before, and definitely a lot of them after. But specifically, 1922 was when Howard Carter discovered King Tut's nearly intact tomb. Up until fairly recently with Cleopatra, who, as of this recording, has not been found yet, but might, King Tut was like the most intact tomb that they had found. The excavations were funded by Lord Carnarvon. So remember Howard Carter, who led the excavations, and Lord Carnarvon, because they are recurring characters. So it received worldwide press coverage. Oh fuck, Siri, Jesus, that scared the shit out of me. This is going so well already. I'm swearing so much more than I did on my last unnamed podcast, but it's fine. This is gonna be explicit. We'll keep it all in. It's not an excuse to be lazy. It's real. All right. With over 5,000 artifacts, it sparked a renewed public interest in ancient Egypt, for which King Tut's mask, now in the Egyptian Museum, remains a popular symbol. The deaths of a few involved in the discovery of King Tut's mummy have been popularly attributed to the curse of the pharaohs. He has, since the discovery of his intact tomb, been referred to as King Tut. That whole paragraph, it didn't call him King Tut. It called him his name that I just am not even trying right now. Tutankhamun. First, we're just going to keep on moseying along. And we're going to talk about the Curse of the Pharaohs. So, the Curse of the Pharaohs, or the Mummy's Curse, it's not a new concept. I'm sure at the very least, you guys might be familiar with it. Or the idea of it.
No, I'm not. But I'll for the sake of this, I'll say, yeah, I know.
I appreciate that. Have you ever heard of the movie The Mummy? Starring
with
American sweetheart Brendan Fraser?
Brendan Fraser, yeah, for sure.
So there's a good example of the Mummy's Curse. So the Mummy's Curse is a curse allegedly to be cast upon anyone who disturbs the mummy of an ancient Egyptian, especially a pharaoh. This curse, which does not differentiate between thieves and archaeologists, is claimed to cause bad luck, illness, or possibly death.
How funny would it be if it did differentiate? If it like checked its credentials first before cursing? Oh, you're an archaeologist? You're all good.
Like a bouncer at the door. And oh, you're a thief? Sorry, we got to give you this curse. If you're an archaeologist, oh, go right in. Check it out. Bring more Englishmen.
That's definitely how it works. Afterlife, that's the bouncer.
Oh yeah. Since the mid-20th century, many authors and documentaries have argued that the curse is real in the sense of having scientifically explicable causes such as bacteria or radiation. However, the modern origins of Egyptian mummy curse tales, their development primarily in European cultures, the shift from magic to science to explain curses, and their changing uses from condemning disturbance of the dead to entertaining horror film audiences, suggest that Egyptian curses are primarily a cultural, not scientific phenomenon. So today, finally, about 20 minutes into this, we're going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking specifically about the curse of King Tut's tomb, which, as previously mentioned, was discovered by Howard Carter. And while I did give away a potential ending that it might not be real, after you hear these stories about the people who were in contact with the tomb, we can all come up with our own conclusion at the end. And you can decide how real you think it is or not. So the tomb of King Tut was located in the Valley of the Kings, south of Cairo, and filled with incredible gold and archaic relics. It was supposedly guarded by a protection curse against grave robbers, upon which they should meet premature deaths. So I think the concept of the mummy's curses did exist before this specific tomb that they found, but with this one, pretty sure they already knew going in, like there was probably hieroglyphics on the wall that, hey, don't rob this grave. You're going to be cursed if you rob the grave. So in 1922, Howard Carter, a British archaeologist and Egyptologist, went on an expedition to locate and open King Tut's tomb in Egypt. His financial backer was George Herbert, the fifth Earl of Carnarvon, otherwise known as Lord Carnarvon. He spent thousands of dollars and was about to give up, but Carter begged him to let the expedition continue. Carnarvon met with a psychic who gave him a warning that problems would happen if he continued the dig. Despite this, they continued.
Was it the Long Island Medium, or who were we working with? Do we know?
I don't think we know specifics, but that's the first sign of like, turn back now. This is not going to go well. On November 26, 1922, Carter, Carnarvon, and his daughter opened the tomb. They were overjoyed to find several golden artifacts inside. Word quickly spread about the discovery. Thousands of people descended on the area surrounding the tomb. The legend goes that on that night the tomb was opened, the lights in Cairo went out. Shortly thereafter, people and animals who are associated with the opening of the tomb began dying.
They brought animals into this?
Yeah, that's the first thing that we're going to go is we're going to talk about an
Okay.
animal,
Right.
which is interesting for many reasons.
I might call it a canary in a coal mine.
That's have you read ahead? Because that's what we're talking about. We're going to talk about a bird, which is weird because this bird wasn't there.
Sometimes birds just die. So
Sometimes living things don't live forever.
I like that the first, I don't know, first controlling the victims of this curse is like, you know who am I gonna get? I'm gonna get his bird. Fuck that bird.
Yeah.
To do anything? Yeah, okay. Tell us about the bird, Gavin, please.
Yeah, so sadly, the first to die was Carter's pet bird. The famous Egyptologist James Henry Breasted worked with Carter soon after the first opening of the tomb. He reported how Carter sent a messenger on an errand to his house. On approaching his home, the messenger thought he heard a faint, almost human cry. Upon reaching the entrance, he saw the birdcage opened by a cobra, the symbol of the Egyptian monarchy. Carter's canary had died in its mouth, and this fueled local rumors of the curse.
couple questions. We don't have a name of the bird?
We do not have a name of the bird.
That's a shame. Also, where the hell did the cobra come from?
It's Egypt. They
Yeah.
just have.
How'd the cobra open the birdcage, though? They're not rocking thumbs.
I can't imagine in 1922 that birdcage technology was that advanced.
Birdcage technology? They're rocking latches, Gavin.
Snakes can fit through
I guess.
slots.
Yeah.
You
I guess I think a cobra's is like big, but
Yeah.
I guess they're not.
It took me a second to realize that this was happening in Egypt, and in my head, I was like, "How'd this cobra show up in this English
It took me a
household?"
second too. Yeah.
Yeah,
See, that's the thing. That's the colonization you're talking about. That we're automatically like, oh,
I
Europe.
know.
We gotta
Wow.
break the mold.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find on Howard's Wikipedia, and I'm not seeing a name. So then again,
Damn
how
shame.
important was this bird if it's not even a known named bird? Not trying to discount the bird. Rip bird. There's gonna be a lot of rest
It's
in
almost
pieces.
hard, Gavin.
It shows character. So, anywho, Arthur Weigel, a previous Inspector General of Antiques to the Egyptian government, reported that this was interpreted as Carter's house being broken into by the royal cobra, the same as that worn on the king's head to strike enemies on the very day the king's tomb was broken into.
Can I
So-
say, I'd buy that if I was if I broke into a guy's house who rocked a cobra on his head, and then a cobra ate my bird at home. I think they would connect it.
You'd turn around and go home? Well, or maybe not
Yeah.
even. You probably wouldn't go home because there's a cobra in your house.
I'd get a new home. Yeah, cut my losses. Go back to England.
Let's keep a running list. So they're like, let's open up this tomb. This one buddy is like, all right, I'm gonna go talk to a psychic about it. The psychic is like, don't do it. It's not gonna be good. Howard's like, it's fine. Psychics opens the tomb, lights go out in the whole city, and bird dead, cobra holding the bird. And for some reason, they were like, you know what? This is going well, guys. Let's keep it rolling.
At that point, like you've opened the tomb, you can't go back from that.
Yeah, I guess at that point, if things are already going to get bad, you might as
You
well.
might as well embrace it.
You might as well check out until you're the one that's dead. So the first human to die was Carnarvon, the guy
Who went to the psychic?
the guy funding the whole thing, who went to the psychic. He died during the expedition. He was bitten by a mosquito. Later, he cut the bite while shaving, which caused an infection. He died from blood poisoning a few weeks after the opening of the tomb.
Oh my
The
god.
night Carnarvon died, the dogs at his home in England began howling, then dropped dead.
How many dogs? How many dogs just dropped dead? Oh my
I
god.
think he had 2 dogs. I don't think it said it here, but I'm pretty sure he had 2 dogs, which is, if you're counting, more than 1. So the fact that they both dropped dead, like right after, like he died, and they were like, "Oh, owner's out. We might as well kick it too."
We got a dip.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
If this is not a curse, like that is a crazy coincidence. What the hell?
But you're saying this isn't a curse?
No, like if I'm saying like hypothetically, if the curse doesn't exist, which I'm not commenting on that yet. We'll wait till the end. What? What? That's crazy.
Yeah. Also, the fact that I understand why a lot, which I think it explains it more, but how this more scientific explanation is, there's probably bacteria and dust and stuff that people might inhale, and that might be what kills them. Because a lot of the stuff wasn't, they open the door and then a rock falls on someone and they die. Or like, not that many people died immediately. It was just enough people associated with it died.
It's not like it was
after the
booby
fact.
trapped like Indiana Jones.
Exactly. And they're losing a man in each section as they try to move forward.
Right.
It was that so many of them, very soon after the fact, kicked it, that they were like, maybe it's all connected.
I have a question. So was he in Egypt when he died?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're all in Egypt.
So the dogs aren't even with him. The dogs.
Oh no,
aren't
at
even
his
with-
home in the dog's at his home in England. Oh. That's
Oh.
even crazier.
That's a
Because
good
that
question.
maybe the neighbor was pissed that the dogs were howling and just like shot them both.
True.
Poisoned them, gave them some like rat poison or something.
Yeah, he
You
died
know the
in
Brits,
Cairo.
they're prickly.
They are. And I'm sure if you're it's probably not too different of time zones. Definitely a couple hours, I'm sure. At least an hour.
Sure.
Yeah, he died in Cairo. So I think everybody was still there for the expedition. But yeah, the fact that his dogs, that's a good point. I didn't even notice it. That they're back in England. And they also died. I'm sure it wasn't the exact same time, but even if it was in the same night,
Pretty spooky.
that was pretty spooky. That's enough of a coincidence for me.
Yeah.
So he was the first human to die. Let's press on. In 1925, so expedition happened in 22. So that's why I say a lot of it's after the fact. 25, this is skipping ahead. The anthropologist Henry Field, accompanied by Breasted, who was James Henry Breasted, who had worked with Carter after the opening. But this is Henry Field, a different anthropologist. Accompanied by Breasted, visited the tomb and recalled the kindness and friendliness of Carter. He also reported how a paperweight given to Carter's friend, Sir Bruce Ingram, was composed of a mummified hand with its wrist adorned with a scarab bracelet marked with, quote, "Cursed be who moves my body. To him shall come fire, water, and pestilence."
And he used it as a paperweight? He's like, I want this on my desk.
Yeah, they were like, "Ooh, a mummy. Let's cut off his hand with this nice bracelet, and I'm going to use it as a paperweight."
Can I say red flag? If I walked in and somebody was using a mummified hand as a paperweight, I'm out. I'm out.
Especially if the bracelet, if the hieroglyphics or whatever mark is on the bracelet, I assume says, "Cursed be who moves my body." Like, hope
Don't
that he
move the
gets
body.
his elements. Maybe leave the body. So soon after receiving the gift, Ingram's house burned down, followed by a flood when it was rebuilt.
That's biblical right there.
Well, the bracelet said, "To him shall come fire, water, and
Oh, right.
pestilence." So there's the fire and the water.
Oh.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what pestilence is.
It's like plagues
Possibly. That
or
would make sense.
bugs, pests,
Probably.
pest control.
yeah.
Bob's Bugs Be Gone. I don't
Probably
know.
something like that. So those were some of the ones that I have more information on. And these are just some other people. So other people that died, possibly as a result of the curse, includes George J. Gould, another man involved in the opening of the tomb, died in 1923 after he developed a fever following his visit. So pretty soon after. Carnarvon's half-brother, Aubrey Herbert, in 1923. South African millionaire, Wolf Joel. So I don't know if he was also funding it. Egyptian prince Ali Fahmy. Fahmy's brother, Halabay. I'm sure I'm butchering these, but I'm going to say it with confidence. But I apologize to anyone in Egypt listening. British Sidar. Sidar? I should have done more
Phonetical.
phonetical. Should have looked a bit more phonetics. There's a lot of long names. This is British Sidar of Egypt, Lee Stack in 1924. Egyptologist H.E. Evelyn White. Radiologist Sir Archibald Douglas Reed. These are also some crazy names and titles. They don't have titles like that anymore. What happened to all the Sir Archibalds? Where are they? Or is Archibald a first name? Is that a first name? Or I thought it was.
It's
I think
a first name.
Archibald is
It's
his first name.
Oh, I thought it was
Harry
a
and
title.
Meghan
Yeah.
Markle's kid. His name is Archibald.
Archie. Yeah.
Oh, is
Yeah.
Archie short for Archibald?
Hmm?
I didn't know that. I guess that shows how much I know about the colonizers. I'm trying to focus on the people who got colonized. Sorry that I'm so woke.
Sorry.
So those were a bunch of no-name people. Also with them, Howard Carter's assistant, Richard Bethel, died on November 15th, 1929. He died in bed in a Mayfair club, and he was the victim of a suspected smothering.
You don't hear about many smotherings, do you?
Not anymore.
Well,
Also, this is, 7 years after?
Yeah, we're getting kind of.
A little bit of a stretch. I think this is in chronological order, so we're definitely stretching way. His father, Lord Westbury, the assistant's father, Egyptologist A.C. Mace, a member of Carter's excavation team, died in April of 1928, having suffered from pleurisy, which is an inflammation of the membrane that surround the lungs and line the chest cavity, and pneumonia in his final years. So again, that arguably could be the closest thing they were talking about maybe he breathed in some sort of bacteria and then it eventually developed in his lungs years later. Egyptologist James Henry Breasted in 1935, who we talked about. He was with the gang who brought the paperweight. And finally, Howard Carter died in March 1939. So that's 17 years after
That's
the fact.
17 years. I'm taking issue with that because I looked it up. He was 64 when he kicked the bucket. And back in 39, that's like when people died. Like, that's just how it was. So I don't know if we can blame our friend Tut on that one. But
yeah, I have a feeling in 1939, 64 is probably pretty good.
yeah,
And that's also during World War II. When did World War II start?
U.S. joined in 41. 39 is, we're in it.
Right in the thick of it. So maybe he died. War-related
Does it not say
causes.
how he died? We don't know that.
Oh, from Hodgkin's disease.
What is Hodgkin's disease?
It's lymphoma.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's cancer. Yeah.
Yes, that's what lymphoma is.
Okay, well, I'm sorry I'm not super familiar with all the different types of cancer.
Well, just do better. That's okay.
I have a lot to learn. And that's what we're going to do here, is we're just learning. So yeah, he died from, but one probably could make the argument, maybe he got that cancer from the bacteria that he breathed in from the tomb.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And they've got a plaque for him in London. But once again, big colonizer energy. So why are we singing his praises? Granted, did help us learn a lot about ancient Egyptians, specifically King Tut and
Wow.
his whole reign.
Wow, Gavin's pro colonizer.
Yeah. Gavin's
Tough.
sounds like you're
It's a
really
tough beat.
endorsing cutting off people's hands and using them as paperweights.
No, I did not say
Steer
that.
clear with Gavin.
It was implied.
I feel like if I say anything going in either direction, it's not going to bode well for me.
Mm.
So what I will say is that although some believe that the deaths may have just been coincidental, others believe that they were a result of the mummy's curse. So, the question, is it real? Before I read the explanation that, again, just kind of brings us back to the real world. After hearing all of these lists of people who died, some from reasonable things and some from just dogs who dropped dead in England, what's your take? Do you think that there's a chance that the mummy's curse could be real?
Forgot about the dogs. I'm not sold yet, but I will say I will be sold if one of the three of us drops dead in the next week or so.
Because we talked about it.
As we talked about it, then I'd be sold.
Okay.
Yeah. Gavin, if you cursed us by doing this, I'm gonna have some beef with you. So first of all,
I'd be pissed.
be really upset. I don't know. The fire water one, that one really got me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like in the right order too. Like that's, I don't know.
Also, the bird being eaten by a cobra, like on that day.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, so that's why there's enough things that coincidences were a little too close.
Yeah. I will say, like, no disrespect to these people that died. I'm very, rest in peace. But
They're not going to hear this. You don't need to worry about
you're right.
offending
You're
them.
so right. I'm so sorry. I feel like, the like drama of it really decreased over time. Like, I wanted more of the like, okay, so like he got struck by lightning,
Mm-hmm.
a cobra ate something. It was like, okay, you died of cancer. Like, I don't know.
I will say though, the smothering took it up a notch. That was I want to know more about that. Who was smothering him and why?
Yeah, that doesn't really, unless it was
Was it King
literally
Tut?
a pharaoh or an ancient Egyptian smothering him. Sounds kind of unrelated, potentially.
Yeah.
It's just your usual run of the mill smothering.
Yeah.
It's a Mayfair Club.
Yeah.
Am I being stupid? What is a Mayfair Club? Is it like a
I've never
brothel?
heard of it.
It's a great
Like a
question.
prostitute
Club?
smother him? Because honestly, valid then.
It's a card room, so I guess it's a casino of sorts.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Originally starting as a bridge and backgammon club. So I'd be pretty lame to have been on an expedition exploring one of like the biggest historical discoveries that
And
century.
then you die at a Hard Rock casino.
and
I'd be
somebody
pissed.
smothered you while you're playing checkers. That's versus you got buddies who died from cancer, potentially from the tomb, and you die because somebody was mad and
Yeah.
suffocated you
Yeah.
because you probably stole their money in backgammon. Anyway, so a medical doctor investigated the case and believes that there was a scientific explanation for the deaths relating to the alleged pharaoh's curse. It is believed several of the deaths could be linked to mold that was trapped in the tomb and released. He adds further that the lights in Cairo were always failing, which makes the phenomenon less incredible. The story about the carnivore dogs is unconfirmed. So I'm not
Okay.
sure if that means that they're not sure if that's when the dogs dropped dead or if they both dropped dead or how they died.
Can I say I had my doubts about the Cairo lights because I didn't have high hopes on the Cairo electrical grid in 1922.
Yeah.
So that's fair.
Skeptics insist that the curse was not real and that the deaths were merely a coincidence.
Classic skeptics.
That's what they're always saying. A study about the deaths and the alleged curse, published by the British Medical Journal, so British, colonizers, determined that there was no significant association between exposure to the mummy's curse and survival, and thus no evidence to support the existence of a mummy's curse. So surprisingly, the mummy's curse probably is not real, according to the British Medical Journal and a lot of people.
Oh, if you're still listening, it was for nothing.
That it's probably not real. But some of those, they didn't talk about the one guy. Like, I don't know if medical professionals talked about the one guy who died from that his house was burned down and flooded, and then the dog, I guess, is unconfirmed. But some of those a little crazy.
Yeah.
It was like a real M. Night Shyamalan twist.
I'd like to think, I don't know, sentimentalist in me, but what kind of protection for these people? If it's a curse that protects them, then that's nice. I hope that does exist, but clearly not protecting them enough. They took their goddamn hand.
Can I say, King Tut was probably an asshole too. I'm doubting some 17-year-old king is some great person.
Leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with. I never watched Game of Thrones, but King Joffrey. Anytime there's a king or a ruler who's not nice, a lot of the times it's a kid who doesn't know, who wasn't like Chris watching the news at 8 years old. You think King Tut knew all of the politics of everything in Egypt, of what was going on? I have my doubts about that.
Yeah. His dad and his mommy aunt didn't have a lot of time to fill him in on it all.
His mommy aunt. Exactly.
Mommy
they were too busy probably dying also at a super young age, because people probably lived for 10 minutes and then croaked way back then. So
there are a lot of conspiracy theories, though, I will say, about King Tut's death. People think that he may have been assassinated. That his chariot was tampered with. So yeah, that maybe he was the first victim of the Curse of King Tut.
true.
As Steve Martin once said, he gave his life for tourism. So
Exactly. And maybe him being killed, and I'm pretty sure he did have a part in creating the Valley of the Kings. So that it wasn't really a thing before him ruling. So maybe he brought that curse to the Valley of the Kings and forever to all of the other pharaohs and ancient Egyptians that were there. So as we wrap up, one other fun little tidbit of colonization and discovering of the world. Recently, a few months ago, and if there was any developments, we will probably edit that in. But another well-known ancient Egyptian, Cleopatra's tomb, is suspected to be discovered. And ideally, I hope it's not discovered between when we're recording this and when this episode comes out, because then we're going to have to get into that. But in mid-November of 2022, a 4,300 foot long tunnel was found 43 feet below the Taposiris Magna, which was a temple dedicated to Osiris, the god of death. An archaeologist believes the temple site could be the final resting place of Cleopatra. So, has not been found yet, but again, probably would be a pretty big deal.
yeah,
if we find
we're pulling for you, Clea. We're pulling for you.
She said that she didn't want to be found. I might be wrong in that exact quoting, but the whole thing was that she never wanted people to find her tomb.
Unless it was Mark Anthony, then.
Also was told that she didn't want a man to find her tomb, but head archaeologist on this, whatever you call this search, is a woman. So maybe the stars are aligning. Maybe Cleopatra was finally a woman's looking for me. Y'all can find me now.
Was Cleopatra the original feminist?
Probably one of.
A girl boss.
A girl boss.
One of the original girl bosses.
One of the original gatekeepers, too, apparently. Good for her.
To be nobody can know where I live.
Yeah.
I feel in order of our goals, ideally, nobody finds her tomb. so she can keep resting. But if somebody were to find her tomb, hopefully it's a woman.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully they keep her in Egypt.
They're
Keep
not
her
gonna. There's no way that they would.
Well, when King Tut, when they found him, he did a fucking world tour. They shipped him all around.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying. There was some museum where I saw something of, maybe it was just artifacts from his. But again, if there's one thing that Europeans love doing, it's parading around artifacts. Really not just Europeans,
That's a good-
white people, I guess, more than the colonizers, more than just Europeans. So that is the Curse of King Tut. What was your? I know this was such a uplifting story. What was your favorite parts? Did you like? Who was your favorite guy who died from this?
The guy got smothered.
The guy who got smothered. That's a fair favorite.
He had spunk.
Yeah.
Oh god, there's so many greatest hits to choose from. I don't know, not the guy. I feel bad for this bird.
Mm.
Yeah,
Bird
I was
is
gonna
so-
say the bird. Yeah.
That's a really dramatic way to go.
Yeah. That, like, especially for the bird. The bird was home in its home. It didn't know. Cobra showed up and was like, "Yo, Howard's doing some fucked up shit. You're done." That's like some like Godfather shit of like, listen, your boy's doing like we gotta break your kneecaps because your boy's messing up.
No. The fact that this bird let out a human-like scream. Dang.
Yeah, that too. Some
Oh,
crazy
God.
stuff. I gotta say the first human Lord Carnarvon, how he got bit by a mosquito. So he was probably like, ow, oh, that's ew, gross. Later, shaving, nix it. Oop, that's not good. Infection, dead. That sucks.
Tough beat for Archie.
Yeah, he could have just if he had just grown out a beard, he probably would have been fine.
Still be with us today.
He'd still be with us today.
Or went out for Lord Cardavon.
Yeah. Well, the Dark Archive. I'm Gavin.
I'm Chris.
I'm Shyla.
I'm glad that you
That's
guys
Craig.
did that without me even. And Craig's here too, the recorder. And keep being dark. I don't have a catchphrase yet. We'll come up with catchphrase.
I think that was good. Keep being dark. Yeah.
Keep being dark. Keep
Nailed it. First try.
keep opening books. Keep reading, guys.
Keep opening tombs.
Now that's that. This podcast is produced and engineered by Gavin Berger with High Tops Media. The Dark Archive is co-hosted by Gavin Berger, Julia Siegel, Chris Massarelli, and Shaila Jayasinghe. Our theme music is composed by Jeffrey Taylor. You can rate and review The Dark Archive on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and check out more episodes of The Dark Archive available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at The Dark Archive Podcast and on TikTok at The Dark Archive, and see more of our content with High Tops Media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at High Tops Media.